Sometimes the loudest goodbye is silence. There comes a moment when words lose their meaning, when explanations only reopen the wounds you've already decided to close. Silent forgiveness isn't weakness, it's wisdom earned through pain. It's the quiet understanding that not everyone deserves a front-row seat to your healing. You stop arguing, stop proving, stop expecting. You simply choose peace over chaos. Psychology teaches that silence, in moments of emotional turbulence, is a form of control, an act of reclaiming your energy. Because forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook, it's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. You don't forgive because they're right, you forgive because holding on keeps you stuck. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. That's the real strength, the ability to let go quietly, with grace, and never look back. Psychologists say that silence after betrayal isn't avoidance, it's emotional intelligence. When you choose not to react, you're training your mind to rise above what once controlled you. Silent forgiveness is the brain's way of protecting itself from emotional burnout. You stop feeding energy into what drains you. Instead of chasing closure, you find it within. Studies in behavioral psychology reveal that people who forgive quietly experience lower stress levels and stronger emotional stability. Because silence forces reflection, it turns pain into perspective. You learn that some battles aren't meant to be fought with words, but with distance. Forgiving in silence doesn't mean you forget. It means you refuse to let bitterness define you. It's an act of power wrapped in calmness, a decision that says, I see what you did, I understand why, and I still choose peace. That's not weakness, that's mastery over your own mind. Psychology teaches us that silent forgiveness isn't avoidance, it's evolution. When you stop explaining your pain, you begin to heal from it. The mind learns to protect itself by choosing peace over confrontation. Silent forgiveness is a form of emotional regulation, where you detach from the chaos that once consumed you. It's not about pretending nothing happened, it's about acknowledging it without allowing it to control your thoughts anymore. Studies show that when you let go quietly, your brain releases emotional tension and rebuilds balance. You stop needing closure from others because you've given it to yourself. Forgiving in silence means you've accepted what can't be changed and refused to let bitterness write the next chapter of your life. That kind of strength doesn't shout, it whispers. It says, I understand, I release, and I move on. That's the true psychology of peace, calm, unseen, and powerful. You don't owe everyone an explanation. Sometimes walking away without words is the clearest message you can give. The need to explain often comes from guilt, not growth. Psychology says people who over-explain are seeking validation from those who already decided not to understand them. Silence, however, speaks truth. It sets emotional boundaries that words can't. You don't need to justify your peace, your healing, or your distance. Not every ending needs a discussion. Some just need closure within yourself. Real maturity is knowing when to stop talking and start protecting your energy. Sometimes peace begins with unanswered questions. There's a rare kind of peace that comes when you finally let go, quietly. No arguments, no revenge, no closure, just release. The moment you stop fighting for someone to understand you, you begin to understand yourself. Psychology calls this emotional detachment, a healthy separation from what no longer serves your growth. Letting go quietly doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you've started healing. You reclaim your power by choosing silence over chaos. Because peace isn't found in fixing others, it's found in freeing yourself. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in holding on, but in walking away without making a sound. Forgiving someone and reconnecting with them are two very different things. Forgiveness happens in your heart. Reconnection happens by choice. One brings peace, the other brings risk. Psychology reminds us that forgiveness is about emotional release, not reopening old wounds. You can forgive someone and still choose never to let them back into your life. Healing doesn't always rebuild. Sometimes it means protecting the new peace you fought so hard to create. Real maturity is knowing the difference, understanding that closure doesn't always involve reunion. Some people deserve your forgiveness, but not your presence, and that's perfectly okay.
Emotional maturity isn't about what you say, it's about what you no longer feel the need to say. You stop defending your worth to those who never saw it. You stop chasing closure because peace has become your priority. Psychology defines this as emotional regulation, the ability to respond, not react. You understand that not every battle needs your energy, and not every person deserves an explanation. You start choosing silence over chaos, distance over drama, peace over validation. Real growth is quiet. It's when you forgive, let go, and move on, not to prove anything, but simply because you've outgrown the pain. Healing begins the moment you choose self-respect over approval. It's when you stop begging to be understood and start standing firm in your worth. Psychology teaches that self-respect rebuilds the mind after emotional damage. It reminds you that peace isn't found in being chosen, but in choosing yourself. You learn to walk away from what diminishes your energy, no matter how much it once meant. Self-respect is silent. It doesn't argue, it simply exits. It's the quiet strength of knowing what you deserve and refusing anything less. Because real healing isn't about forgetting the pain, it's about remembering your value. In the end, quiet forgiveness is the purest form of peace. You stop replaying the story, stop seeking apologies that will never come. Instead, you release the weight with grace. Psychology calls this emotional liberation, the point where pain no longer controls your narrative. Forgiving in silence isn't weakness, it's strength refined through understanding. You realize that peace doesn't arrive with closure, it arrives with acceptance. You don't need to announce your healing, you just live it. Because true forgiveness doesn't shout, it whispers. It says, "I let it go, not for you, but for me." That's where real freedom begins.